Hear that? That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather at 6 o'clock. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Waupun. As we get rolling into this work week, one of the things we're going to be concentrating on are rain chances. There's a lot of those that are going to start coming back, and we do have some thunderstorms out there we're tracking this evening, including a few trying to cross the river that could potentially be stronger. I don't know, we're talking severe weather chances. Well, okay, I don't think we're talking severe weather chances here, thankfully, and hopefully that's the case the next couple of days. Overall, storms will be diminishing after dark this evening. Of course, hot and steamy, and of course, stormy for tomorrow, as rain chances day by day are going to go on the increase as we go throughout this week. We do anticipate as those rain chances increase, probably Thursday is the day we're targeting with the greatest potential for heavy rainfall to go with this. I don't think we're talking about excessive rainfall amounts. We'll look at some of those potential rainfall totals come up here in a couple minutes as well. Outside right now in Starkville, we've had some showers around this afternoon. This looking at the Mississippi State campus there, I believe from Davis Wade Stadium toward the south. Right there. You can't really necessarily pick it out initially here, but we do have, again, a little bit of shower activity showing up there. And our Greenville camera, it does look like North Mississippi Storm Chasers moving that one around a little bit on us as they're looking at some of the clouds. The reason for that, they're looking at some of the storms that are getting a little closer to that location there. So we're Greenville right there, and this batch of thunderstorms kind of working its way eastward over the last little bit. I'm tracking this at 40 miles per hour, and I'll tell you why. Because you could see, if you watch this loop here, right? I had some of the red back there all the way to here. That might be a little bit fast, but I want to give you kind of an earliest possible time of arrival there, since we just unfortunately don't have great radar data out there in the Delta. So with that in mind, as you can see, we're looking at this eventually getting there closer to, say, Ruleville. I'm going to put this on the now time here for a moment. By around 6:30 or so. Longer track on this, getting it toward Greenwood about 6:50 to eventually there closer to Oakland by about 7:30. Grenada about 7:31, generally speaking, but in Cleveland about 6:15 there, Indianola about 6:15, and out there toward around Inverness at about 6:27. What can we expect out of this? I think some heavy rainfall, yes. Severe weather, in all likelihood, probably is not the big weather story with this as well, but we do, of course, have the lightning, about 400 strikes on this wider shot here. You will also notice, if I get out of the way of it for a second, that the number of lightning strikes has gone down on that batch of thunderstorms. Again, we've lost the heating of the day, and overall storms have weakened a bit more. Calhoun City, near Pittsboro there as well, watching this batch of thunderstorms over top of you. As we look kind of at this, a couple of different ways we'll look at this. First off, one of the things we kind of debuted during our 5 o'clock broadcast is this threat tracker, this ability for us to see the peak threats a thunderstorm is capable of here. I think it's going to be a good thing to kind of help us out. But as you can see, rainfall amounts to the rate at about between 1 inch to 2 inches an hour. So where it falls, it's falling in a big hurry. It's luckily not everybody that is kind of seeing those downpours. You look at the 1 hour loop here, you can see how it's just very intermittent the way in which those end up popping up there. As we slide southward, just a little pop-up showers there showing up back toward around Winona. Another one back here south of Huntsville, Mississippi. There's Shady Grove, of course. There's Ware and Tolleson. Again, these are all relatively weak in nature. A couple then around the Louisville area. And we had a lot more around Columbus just a little bit ago. We kind of had this area, if we make this maybe just a slightly longer loop here for just a moment. Let's leave it here on the 1 hour loop for a second. You can see how you had an area you had storms, and then the rain cool there is now spreading out both directions from that. As it does, it could again continue to poke up a couple of thunderstorms out here closer to Carrollton and Pickensville, out toward Brooksville. And that's part of where we're seeing the storm around Ling Creek popping up. So don't be shocked, Meshulaville, Fern Springs, or Boone, that we have additional thunderstorms kind of popping up in your general area in the next little bit here. One of our heavier batches out here toward Littleville and Russellville and Hodges, all kind of expanding eastward. But again, This is kind of your metric right there. When you see that lightning strikes only about 67, one of those many signs that these are not severe thunderstorms that we're contending with. And we've had this kind of area where we've watched this boundary there stretching back from Shannon toward around Good Food there and Buckhorn. This again, maybe a couple isolated thunderstorms on this next couple of hours, but we have not had much activity out there at this time. On the wider shot here, again, on Storm Track Doppler radar, we're looking out toward Pontotoc and looking under some of those showers. A lot of dark clouds. Dark clouds just means tall thunderstorms. Does not mean necessarily severe weather. I think hoping for a little bit more in the way of rainfall there. 90 the temperature, feeling like 99 degrees in Pontotoc right now from our camera there on the south side of town. So as we go throughout this next 12 hours, again, rain coverage diminishing to around 20% or so as we look toward around 7 p.m. Mostly out of here by 10 o'clock and through the overnight hours. Wouldn't all be shocked to maybe have a couple little showers, but when you start looking at the area as a whole, the overall coverage, probably not a whole lot of substance out there, with low 70s early tomorrow morning, all the way up to 74 degrees by 7 a.m. as we heat things up in the near 90 degree point by tomorrow afternoon. So the wider shot here kind of showing us again the overall pattern. Chantel, the tropical system that we've had out toward the east coast, that's out here toward New York. That's heading away from us, taking its more significant rainfall with it. And while we have two frontal boundaries we're looking at up toward the Midwest, neither of these has us in its sights. Because, I mean, you can see this closer one that we have there. I mean, anytime one of these is rotating between the red, the blue, the red, the blue, it's not a situation where we're going to see a lot of cooler air making this direction. It's a stationary front, stalled front, so it does not make it down here. So on kind of the statewide scale here, you can see some of our isolated pop-ups we have at this point here. It also depicts some of those storms back out in the Delta and a few of those trying to build in. We're looking here at this evening at 9 p.m. Let's bring it up here in the northern part of the state. In particular, we show out closer to, say, Tallahatchie County, stretching there toward Carroll County, and some of these showers and storms trying to work their way eastward. But even by, again, 10:30, 11 o'clock, mostly gone. But one thing you will probably note here is that we still have a couple more thunderstorms on there, even versus what we showed you during our 5 o'clock broadcast. You might ask why. This particular projection, what we call the high resolution rapid refresh, that's what all those R stand for there. It has a tendency, it updates every hour. And so it takes current trends and invests those on where things are going from there. And so it's a sign that if hour by hour we're continuing to see some of those showers linger a little longer, that there's a greater chance that some of those linger deeper into the evening. But what you'll notice is even in this projection, most of our overnight period should be dry. As you can see, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, dry. And one thing we talked about during our 5 o'clock broadcast, and this is one of the benefits of coming back here, is we get new data, especially on days that are so, what's the word I'm looking for on that? You know, this time of year, our projections do only a so-so job. No matter how good they are, they're trying to guess bubbles. You'll notice less in the coverage of those storms by tomorrow morning. One of those signs that, again, we anticipate largely that most of us are probably going to end up spending the first part of tomorrow dry, and we're going to wait on that heating of the day. As we do, more of those showers and thunderstorms stop popping up by midday, and I think they start moving to our area as we go later into the afternoon and eventually into the evening. So as we look over the course of the next 24 hours, again, starting off around 72, your low temperature on your Tuesday, or 80 by 9 a.m., 91 degrees by noontime. And again, that limited rain chance starts popping up. Even though I show sunshine there, it takes that sunshine and the heating to pop up those storms. Our peak temperature, if I were to show you, would probably be here closer to maybe 1:30, 2 o'clock at about 93, 94 degrees for a lot of spots. And that'll help pop up thunderstorms. The rain cooled air starts getting in here. That's why we show it slightly cooler there by 3 p.m. And the rain coverage probably peaking before 6 and diminishing as we head into tomorrow evening. So coming up here in 60 seconds, we're going to be looking at a couple of things. First off, the rain chances going through the work week as we're especially targeting the latter part of the week for some of those. And on kind of the wider shot here, how all those components play into what is likely to be a rather wet forecast. How much rainfall could you end up seeing? We're talking about that with the latest on Mississippi Live Weather Radar in 60 seconds as we continue here on Mississippi Live Weather at 6. Go and click me down there, if you would. We've been looking at the chat, so we'll click that on the main monitor down below.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt LaPon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt LaPon has proven himself trustworthy.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt LaPon.
Boy, a pretty shot out here right now in the Winona area. The sun, of course, right behind the banner there. 91, the temperature feeling like 100. I feel like every one of these cameras, we've had some bugs going out there. I mean, I guess they're buzzing around enjoying what is certainly a hot and steamy day. But I just love the fact you get, of course, the clouds there in the foreground. We do have some showers we're looking at around Winona. We'll look at that more detail here in just a moment as we kind of check out some other cameras around the area as well. But I want to first get to rainfall and forecast rainfall, of course, today. As you can see here on our projection, this with the Weather Prediction Center, an arm of NOAA, part of the government, on what they can kind of assess on this, as well as we look at the rainfall amounts. You can see they're not terribly excessive. Everything here is obviously less than a half an inch, with the exception of perhaps out there closer to Clarksdale, back out in the Mississippi Delta. And that is because, of course, that's where some of our showers have been the heaviest over the last little bit so far. We look at the rainfall potential for tomorrow. You'll notice that things really don't change much, nor do they a whole lot as we look into Wednesday. But I think the combination eventually later this week by Thursday and eventually Friday, some of those rain chances for a few locations get a little greater, but you kind of, add that up over the course of the next 7 days, and you'll see that most rainfall totals are not terribly impressive. So that just kind of was a reminder of the spotty nature of these showers, where, we show 1.5 inches in Clarksdale or close to 1.25 inches in Yazoo City, but a lot of spots with lesser amounts. So I wouldn't attach myself to exact locations on this, but the takeaway is this. Spotty rain chances will eventually start adding up to a little bit more. It's just going to take a little time, but luckily not talking about flooding rainfall with this setup. And also not talking about severe weather as well. Today's severe weather risk, as you can see, thunderstorms possible, all those locations I depict there. As we clear that off, though, the severe weather risk mainly for locations up to the north. Again, closer to that boundary. Remember, we talked about that front, that stalled front. You have the extra lift there. That's where the rain chances are more significant and not really much of an issue as far as we are concerned here, thankfully. As we look at the satellite perspective here, kind of across the region, you'll notice again, just even looking at the clustering of bright white clouds, they're most significant back to the west, and the sign there that that's where the most significant rainfall and thunderstorms and everything are going to be. And we come back here over to latest on Mississippi Live Weather Radar and look at the showers and thunderstorms. Clearly the ones in the Delta, the ones we're watching the most closely out here, closer to Benoit and Beulah there, and south of Rossdale, north of Greenville. That's where those thunderstorms are the strongest. I do think we probably tracked them a little fast a minute ago. Now we've kind of had a better chance. Unfortunately, the problem in the Mississippi Delta is the radar scans are just so high. For those of you watching that are used to watching what we have done here in North Mississippi, you might not have as much understanding as folks out there have, that the radar, there's no closer radar out there. The same radar that we use that we say is too high in Grenada is excessively too high when you get out here closer to locations in the Delta. So let me go and clear that off, and let's do a track on this. Again, 25 miles per hour, we'll say, on the movement there, maybe 30 miles per hour. Giving you a time there, pace, we're looking at about 6:22 for you, 6:35 there for Cleveland, Ruleville about 6:47, and Sunflower at about 6:55. So we clear that off as we kind of put that into motion here as we show these storms kind of working their way eastward. Again, they are not terribly impressive, but they are still kind of holding together. And I probably should track the northern part of that as well. So that's what we're going to do, because we have a little time to do that here. So as we give you an idea on how that, really it's the rain cool there with that expanding eastward, I'm going to still keep it about 30 miles per hour just in case. This is about the only batch that actually has some movement to it there. We're looking at Shelby at 6:33, Duncan at 6:39 there, Alligator by about 6:43, and 6:58 Clarksdale. Again, if it continues about 30-ish miles per hour. That's about how long it'll take to get some of those locations there. As we bring it back toward the east, again, still watching that back toward Bruce. As we talked about a minute ago, the rainfall with that from time to time, we've had some heavier rainfall. What I'm going to look here, though, is something we don't always show. We call echo tops. It allows us to see how tall thunderstorms are. It's kind of a sign of overall health of thunderstorms. As I leave this on the latest scan here, when you start talking about some spots like what we have out, say, around Florence, Alabama, that's 50,000 feet. That's a fairly strong thunderstorm. Bruce, we're about 40,000 feet. You're still going to get some gusty winds out of that, maybe 30, 35 miles per hour at the strongest. But most of these obviously are below that. And that's why, again, we're not talking about much in the way of a severe weather risk for this evening, thankfully, out of any of these thunderstorms. But certainly watching that potential if storms were to get a little stronger, that perhaps we'd have to monitor. But we expect, again, mostly well below severe limits. So rain chances from here, again, I would say we're 20% on the coverage today. Maybe, I don't think 30%. I think 20% on the coverage. We'll probably be up to 40% for tomorrow. So expecting a greater number of storms than what we had for today, as well as Wednesday, up to 60% as we look toward your Thursday. So that is clearly the day we're most confident on the rain coverage as we go throughout this week. And an hour-by-hour forecast for tomorrow showing us that, again, it's in the afternoon in particular, we'll have some of those thunderstorms diminishing in the evening. I show 90, that 3 p.m. temperature, but the actual high temperature tomorrow, somewhere around probably 93 degrees or so. We'll look at that city by city here in a moment. High temperatures, again, 93, 94-ish for tomorrow. I expect we'll probably be down in the lower 90s by Wednesday, Thursday. The reason for that, rainfall. We're going to have more rain, and that rain is going to hold temperatures down a little bit. So the steamiest factor is still there because the moisture is present. So the heat index is still probably 100 or greater for a lot of those days as well. And again, heat indices we'll look at in a minute. So looking at Futurecast here, still showing a couple of those isolated thunderstorms. You see how spotty they are. But notice it also still has this batch out here toward Indianola, Greenville, and Shelby, working its way eastward. But it does have it mainly diminishing by 10 p.m., though, still a couple of those showing up closer to Grenada, locations out around Greenwood as well. Wider shot here shows, again, as those kind of fall apart by 10, 11, midnight, I think we're good with just some mostly cloudy skies out there for the overnight hours. As we go toward around tomorrow morning, we should largely, again, be dry, which is pretty much what you would kind of expect for the beginning of the day. So low temperatures, we're going around 72 degrees there in Eupora, 71 in Bruce and Water Valley. The normal is somewhere in the neighborhood about 72 degrees, as we mentioned. And from here, I think we kind of keep it fairly steady over the next few days. I know, not a lot changing, especially for those beginning temperatures in the morning. Of course, you can always stay up to date with that forecast at MississippiLiveWeather.com. So Futurecast through your Tuesday, still fairly dry through 9 a.m. toward around noontime. It takes the heating of the day before storms start popping. We don't have that 10. We don't have that really at noon, but you can start to see by maybe 12, 12:30, some spots starting to get a few of those going. The winds generally out of a westerly direction, guiding some of those storms into our area. A greater number showing up there closer to Oxford, back out there toward Water Valley, and down around Macon by around 3 p.m. 4 to 5 o'clock tomorrow is probably our peak time frame to see some of those showers and thunderstorms. Our graphic here advancing into tomorrow evening. As you can see, most of us dealing with at least some lingering storms, possibly into the evening time period for tomorrow. So as we go at high temperatures, we're about 94 there in Grenada and Greenwood for tomorrow, as well as 92 Eupora, 94 degrees in Starkville. That normal is about 92, so a little bit above that. The heat index, though, of course, the more important number, you'll feel like 104 in Houston, 103 degrees in Vernon, and about 97 Kosciuszko in Louisville. The reason you're perhaps just a little bit cooler is because of those rain chances. This is sampling the heat index at 3 p.m., and you'll notice those heat indices aren't quite as high by Wednesday afternoon because of a greater quantity of those showers and thunderstorms around. So looking at Futurecast, here is again some of those lingering showers into tomorrow evening, mostly diminishing into your Wednesday morning with some spotty showers and thunderstorms trying to pop up even earlier on in the day. As we look at a kind of a wider perspective here for a moment, the overall pattern does have, again, a fairly weak front back to the north and west, trying to move, generally speaking, in our direction. I don't know that we're going to get a meaningful cool down from this anytime soon, but it could be more of an ignition point if it can get close enough for additional showers and thunderstorms. As we bring it a little closer here, you'll note that, again, we still have some of those thunderstorms. And as we go toward, 6, 7 o'clock on your Wednesday evening, where we do have some of those darker reds showing up, some stronger wind gusts, maybe 40, 50 miles per hour possible. Now, I'm not expecting much in the way of a severe weather threat out of this in any kind of organized fashion, but this time of year, anytime you get a storm tall enough, if it can collapse fast enough, well, you're going to get some stronger wind gusts out of that there. And then as we head toward around 10 p.m. or so, most of those diminishing, and by 1 o'clock in the morning, largely done. And yeah, here's your sign, right? See the red, the blue, the red, this front stalling out before it gets here. So any meaningful cool down from this, not something you should be anticipating. So hour by hour forecast for tomorrow, 7 a.m. will be 74. By noontime, not a lot of storms popping up. We're mainly dry and clear. But by around 5 p.m., we will have those thunderstorms going, obviously 2, 3, 4 o'clock when they really start going, mostly out of here by 10 p.m. there. As you can see, 77 at that point in time. 7-day forecast, around 40% on that coverage of rainfall on your Wednesday, 60% by Thursday, 50% for Friday. Again, those spotty showers and thunderstorms do continue even into the latter part of this upcoming weekend, though they become a little bit more limited in coverage by that point and time. Okay, so coming up here in a couple minutes, we're going to look a little bit at extended forecast. And what we do also want to do, as what we're trying to do here, is answer some of your questions related to what's going on with the weather and just in general. So keep it here as Mississippi Live Weather at 6 continues right after this.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I know you're going through a lot. I wonder if you know that we can get help. Let's see how far we can go. Love, your mind.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.
So we've had some great pictures lately, including this shot here that came close to the 4th of July holiday. One of the things we're trying to feature when we can are some of your weather pictures from around the region. In the last 24 hours, we've had a few out there, not a ton of them that have been submitted, but of course this is my moment to kind of pitch and ask for y'all to send in some of your weather pictures from around the region. Of course, from time to time it might be a shout out like this one down there, and appreciate those when those come in. We appreciate you for loving us here on Mississippi Live Weather. Of course, that's not Michael up there as I'm trying to kind of adjust it on the fly. But just appreciate you when you want to share in your pictures. Cool thing is we kind of see where those can come in from, and of course want to try to feature all the folks around here that have weather questions or are just generally interested in weather as well. We were calling that Weather Watchers. Since it's an opportunity for us to kind of involve you in this in the process here of how we cover weather here in North Mississippi. So I'm going to kick this over to kind of a mode where we can look at the wide shot here. I got a bunch of stuff on here, but this is where we're talking earlier about what we call a shear axis. And so what we essentially have is you have high pressure out here toward Mexico, and you have high pressure out here east, and we find ourselves in this zone in the middle. And since we're in the middle of that, it's just kind of a weak area. You can almost also see right down south here, we have this little spin going on right here down south of New Orleans, right? Counterclockwise is going to be something we look for development. Low pressure centers, they have rotation around them in a counterclockwise fashion in the northern hemisphere, clockwise in the southern hemisphere. And so that area, what I like to call a shear axis, kind of sets up here with this weak spot where thunderstorms can form, despite the fact that high pressure is largely the dominant feature. And so as we look forward to the next few days, you'll notice that does shift ever so slightly back to the west. What I have layered on here, the winds that represent the jet stream, always important during severe weather coverage. There's nothing out there to really steer them over top of us. Out west, yes, big storm system out there. Out to the northeast, yes, but we're just kind of stuck. And so we're just kind of stuck to bubble each day with some showers and thunderstorms kind of bubbling up here. And you'll note that we will continue to kind of be in that zone where things retreat as far as the eastern high is concerned, one of the factors that will allow, again, some rain chances to increase as we go into the latter part of this week. Again, a lot of stuff going on here, but you'll notice by Sunday, in the latter part of the weekend, what starts to happen? This high pressure center, again, this is an area where we have rotation that's in a clockwise fashion. Bringing up with the dots there, more moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. Eventually, that increases the stickiness factor. But as that high settles over top of us, what it also does is it tries to keep us somewhat drier. Now, it doesn't go directly overhead. That's why even in the next week, we'll continue to have some spotty rain chances, maybe even some disturbances, bringing a little bit more than rainfall. But one of those signs in the extended forecast that we're obviously going to be hotter. But this is in a lot of ways a very summer-like weather pattern in that we have a strong jet stream up north, a river of fast-moving air in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that north-south temperature contrast makes it to where this time of year that tends to retreat northward. That's how we tend to get stuck into patterns for longer periods of time. Well, I'm going to bring in Caleb here from over there. You're watching the chat. Anything interesting the folks are asking about, interested in, that we can talk about here on this interactive portion of Mississippi Live Weather at 6?
A question from Billy.
And go ahead and put on that microphone if you could. So you can just clip that on there. Doing this impromptu as we're learning the best way to do this. So you were saying, Billy?
Yes, Billy asked a question. Will you send out alerts for tornadoes like alarms?
Yes, so we will continue to send out weather alerts. So the alerts, the pushes that you get from us are things that we are triggering right now here in the studio. When we start talking about severe weather, if you're in one of those warnings, you will absolutely get those alerts. I'm going to go back over here to radar for a second. So a good example would be this storm that we have down here toward Jackson. This alert that we're looking at here is for severe weather and the potential for a severe thunderstorm warning. So you can see that's kind of popped up on there. So locations, people that are in those locations will in fact get alerts in that situation. And to say that, let me check, because one of the cool things about this is we can geo-target specific spots if we need to just on a normal day, but on a severe weather day, we can also kind of give some advance heads up as possible. It's not always possible for us to do that, and luckily the cool thing is that the system handles itself. But yeah, we do have some folks down there that have probably gotten that alert for that thunderstorm down there at this time. So yes, we will continue to push those alerts out during severe weather. You can also, and I do not have a QR code up for it now, but we do believe we have it updated on our website, msliveweather.com. We are still allowing you to sign up for Weather Call, where you have my voice call you. That is available. There's a Weather Call tab there that you can click to get those alerts as well. What else, Caleb?
The only other question I've seen so far is asking for the update about Roku.
So Roku should drop tomorrow at 5. That was the last information that I had on that. So the Roku app hopefully is coming very, very soon. That's one that I'm excited about because the Waupun House has Roku. And so that means the kids and the sitter can watch on Roku when we're doing this as well. And that will be obviously good for all days. One of the cool things on the Roku app coming is that, you can see, and I can show you these cameras like what we're looking at here. Well, that's Fulton. Let's pull up Smithville here for a moment. I'm going to go to Smithville for a second. And so the camera you see at Smithville here is one that is a great camera. But in order for it to, I keep clicking off it. Sorry. Again, I'm still learning how to run this radar. I wanted to make that camera box come off. I think we got it. Third time's a charm. There we are. Okay, so this camera in Smithville looks good on your screen right now, but on Roku, it should be coming in a lot of these cases. These are 4K cameras, so you'll actually be looking more clearly at it than what I can show you right now, as crazy as that sounds. So that's one of the things is you should be able to go through some of those and check out the cameras in your area, not just when we're live on the air, but anytime. So I'm really looking forward to that potential there for folks to be able to see that. So that'll be coming tomorrow at 5 p.m. is when that one should drop. So anything else, Caleb?
Another question from Patrick asking if there are any plans for Apple TV app.
Yes, Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick are all very much in the works. I want to say Google TV as well. Apple works at the speed of, I have Apple devices as well. Apple works at the speed of Apple. Don't say that out loud too loudly or Apple will hear you. But yeah, Apple works at the speed of Apple, and when they're ready, that one will be ready as well. So hopefully that's very, very soon. So yes, we do have some of those things. I do not think that we are close on Samsung and Vizio and some of these other apps. Hopefully at some point we'll be able to get there. And there are some third-party apps that are going to be able to carry our feed as well on there. I think in my email inbox I have something I need to take care of related to one of those as well. So hopefully in the coming days we'll be able to talk about that, as well as talk about our morning meteorologist to be. We've kind of come to agreement with somebody who you've previously known and loved, who has not been at the former TV station for a little while, that we're hopefully able to bring back for that. So I'm very excited to bring her back, and we'll showcase her here at least maybe later this week, but certainly in the next week or so. Hopefully we'll be able to have her back on. Anything else, Caleb?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, well, if that's it, then that's it for us. So thank you for joining us here for Mississippi Live Weather at 6. It's not quite it, because of course the last thing we have to talk about is
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
One in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The Health Class Film Guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping. Got a few minutes? You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. But only you can prevent wildfires.